Good morning, all of you. This is Nageshwar Rao, Assistant Professor of Physics, Government Degree College, Chintalapur. In this presentation, we will discuss about the verification of the Kepler's first law. We know Kepler's laws describe the motion of the planets which are revolving around the sun. So there are three laws we know from school days onwards we are listening, but only you are discussing statements and what are the applications about them. Today in this presentation, we will verify the Kepler's first law. So before discussing or verifying the Kepler's first law, we will discuss once again that what are Kepler laws. The Kepler first law related to the path of the planet which revolve around the sun. Kepler says that the orbit of the planet which is ellipse, so that this is called law of elliptical orbits, and the path of the shape of the orbit. So that the Kepler first law states that the planet which revolve around the sun is ellipse and sun is one of its foci. This is called Kepler's first law. So that it shows that the planet which revolve around the sun is in elliptical path and the sun is one of its foci. And the second Kirchhoff law, that is Kepler's law, Kepler's second law shows that the relation between the radius vector, it is nothing but the line drawn between sun and planet sweeps out how much area, that is the relation between area sweeps out by the radius vector. So that the Kepler's second law shows that this is called law of areas. So this shows the area occupied or maybe sweeps out by the radius vector. So that this states that the line drawn between or the radius vector drawn between sun and planet sweeps out equal areas in equal interval of time. The line drawn between a radius vector drawn between sun and earth sweeps out equal areas in equal interval of time. This is called Kepler's second law. So this is also called the variable velocity is constant in this Kepler's second law. So how can we explain this one? So we know the Kepler's according to the Kepler's first law, always the planets which revolve around the sun in elliptical orbit, just like that. So this is the position of the sun. So this is the planet. The line drawn between sun and planet is called radius vector. After one day, the planet is moving from here to here. The radius vector sweeps from S to P like this. So the radius vector sweeps out this area is maybe taken as 5 lakh square kilometer, for example. After one day, the planet, it means one day it moves from here to here. After one day, this planet is moving from here to here. That is also same one day. The radius vector will move from here to there. The area covered this radius vector is also same as the yesterday, that is 5 lakh square kilometer. Another third day also, the planet is moving from here to here. This is also, it takes one day. The radius vector drawn between those two also sweeps out the same area, that is 5 lakh square kilometer. So in equal intervals of time, it sweeps out equal areas. So this is called Kepler's second law. And what about Kepler's third law? Kepler's third law shows the relation between time period of the planet and the distance between sun and planet. Maybe it is called semi-major axis. So the relation between time period of the planet and semi-major axis is called Kepler's third law. So that this Kepler's third law is also called harmonic law. So how can we state that? According to this Kepler's third law, it states that the sphere of the time period of the planet revolve around the sun is proportional to cube of the semi-major axis of the orbit. What is this semi-major axis? We know in elliptical orbit there is a semi-minor axis and a semi-major axis. This is of course may be taken as an ellipse. So this is a line drawn along the lengthiest radius. This is short radius. This is called semi-major axis, the distance between center and this area. The distance between center and this area is called semi-minor axis, that is taken as B. So in this case, the square of the time period, that is T square, is proportional to a cube, that is called Kepler's third law. Now we will verify the Kepler's first law. So to derive this verification, let us consider a planet of mass m, which is rotating around the sun. Of course, the mass of the sun is taken as m in an orbit of radius r. Then we know, according to the Newton's law of gravitation, the force of attraction between this planet and the sun is F is equal to G into mm by r square, where minus shows the force of attraction between sun and the planet. So of course, this force is acting towards the center of the sun, that is central force. When we have taken this force is directly proportional to the towards the center of the sun, so this may be taken as minus. Now the acceleration of the planet towards the center of the sun will be, according to this formula, Newton's second law of motion, F is equal to ma, that is A is equal to F by m. Where the small m is cancelled each other, the acceleration A is equal to minus G into m by r square. Let us consider capital G into m is equal to mu, that is one more constant. Then acceleration A is equal to minus mu by r square. This may be useful in deriving the next problem. And of course, where negative sign is used because the force is towards the center of the sun. We know in case of polar coordinates, the radial acceleration can be written as AR is equal to d square r by dt square minus r into d theta by dt whole square, because in central force, there is radial acceleration acts towards the center of the sun. Of course, where r and theta are polar coordinates. Of course, in case of central force, the transverse acceleration is 0. So that of course, this is r that is equal to acceleration r is equal to minus mu by r square, what we discussed in the previous slide. Now we know the transverse acceleration is 0 in case of central force, because there is no force acting normal to the radius vector. So that transverse force acceleration AR is equal to 1 by r into d by dt into r square into d theta by dt, that is equal to 0. We know there is a d by dt of r square into d theta by dt is equal to 0 is nothing but within the bracket r square into d theta by dt is constant, maybe it is taken as h. Of course, from this d theta by dt is equal to h by r square. We know the polar equation of the central orbit is, that is equation of motion under a central force, d square u by d theta square plus u is equal to p by h square u square, where u is equal to 1 by r, that is on radius vector, and p is the force per unit mass. We know u is equal to 1 by r, that is reciprocal of the radius vector. So what is p? We know p is equal to f by m, that is force per unit mass. We know f is equal to gmm by r square, and mm may be cancel each other. So that gm is equal to, that is u, we know, that is 1 by r is equal to u. So that 1 by r square is equal to u square. Gm is equal to mu, that is p is equal to mu u square. When this p value is substituted into the above equation, that is a d square u by d theta square plus u is equal to, of course, that p is replaced by mu u square by h square u square. Of course, u square and u square is cancelled each other, so that d square u by d theta square plus u is equal to mu by h square. We know mu and h is constant when it is going left side. D square u by d theta square minus u minus mu by h square is equal to 0. For easy solution of this equation, that mu by h square is, constant. It is added or subtracted to the u value. Then what happens? D square by d theta square of u minus mu by h square plus u minus mu by h square is equal to 0, because mu and h are constants. So that d square by d theta square of mu by h square is 0, so that the value does not change. Now let us consider this u minus mu by h square is equal to x. Then d square x by d theta square plus x is equal to 0. This, of course, this is a second degree differential equation, and its solution may be written as x is equal to a cos theta minus theta naught. Of course, a and theta naught are constants. But what is the value of x? X value is u minus mu by h square. So that u minus mu by h square is equal to a cos theta minus theta naught. From this, u is equal to, that is mu by h square plus a cos theta minus theta naught. But we know u is equal to 1 by r, and mu and h are constants. And then from that, 1 by r is equal to mu by h square plus a cos theta minus theta naught. When mu by h square is taken as common, when mu by h square came outside, there is only 1 plus a cos theta minus theta naught by mu by h square. Of course, it may be read that mu square by h square is going on numerator, that is a h square by mu, that is 1 by r is equal to 1 plus a h square by mu cos theta minus theta naught by h square by mu. This may be taken as equation 2. This equation shape is just like the equation of cone, that is equation of conic equation. What is conic equation? That is 1 by r is equal to 1 plus epsilon cos theta minus theta naught by L. These two equations are similar, where epsilon is nothing but eccentricity of the cone and L is the semi-lattice rectum. When comparing these two equations, semi-lattice rectum L is equal to h squared by mu, and eccentricity epsilon is equal to a h squared by mu. Depending on the value of eccentricity of the cone, we can define the shape of the path. So our aim is to calculate what is the value of the eccentricity. So to calculate the eccentricity of that value, we will calculate the total energy of the planet. So if epsilon, that is eccentricity, epsilon is greater than 1, according to the conic equations, the conic is hyperbola. If epsilon is equal to 1, then the conic is parabola. If epsilon is less than 1, then the conic is ellipse. So to know the value of epsilon, we want to calculate the total energy of the planet is nothing but sum of the kinetic energy and potential energy. So we know the kinetic energy of the particle is always half mv square. M is the mass of the particle and v is the velocity. But here the velocity of the particle having, maybe planet having two velocities. One is radial velocity and the second one is the transverse velocity. We know radial velocity is nothing but a dr by dt, that is half into mv square, and r into d theta by dt is the transverse velocity. So that half into, that is dr by dt whole square plus r into d theta by dt whole square. This is transverse velocity. This is radial velocity. But we know dr by dt is equal to minus h into du by d theta. From that r is equal to 1 by u, we derive this. And d theta by dt is equal to h by r square, that is h square by r to the power 4, and r square and h to the r to the power 4 cancel 1 by r square. 1 by r square is equal to u square. So that the kinetic energy of the planet Ke is equal to half m into minus h into du by d theta whole square plus h square u square. Of course, minus whole square is nothing but plus, that is half m into, when h square is taken as out, half m h square into du by d theta whole square plus u square. But we know what is the value of u. U value is, we know, that is mu by h square plus a cos theta minus theta naught. When this a u value is substituted into this equation, that is kinetic energy Ke is equal to half mh square into d by d theta of this u is mu by h square a cos theta minus theta naught, that is whole square. plus u square, that is u, we know that is mu by h square plus a cos theta minus theta naught whole square. This is of course a differentiation of this, and this is a plus b whole square. We know d by d theta of mu by h square is 0. So that d by d theta of a cos theta minus theta naught is a sin theta minus theta naught. So that if there is a square, so that a square sin square theta minus theta naught, this is just like a plus b whole square, that is a square plus b square plus 2ab principle. Of course, there is also a square sin square theta minus theta naught. Here a square cos square theta minus theta naught. When a square is taken as common, then a square into sin square theta minus theta naught plus cos square theta minus theta naught, and mu square by h to the power 4 plus 2 mu h square by a cos theta minus theta naught. We know sin square theta plus cos square theta is 1. This value is going to 1. So that kinetic energy of the planet half mh square into a square plus mu square by h to the power 4 plus 2 mu by h square into a cos theta minus theta naught. Of course, after expanding this, kinetic energy is equal to that one. This is the kinetic energy of the planet which revolve around the sun. And what is the potential energy? We know potential energy PE is equal to integration F dot dr. We know force F is equal to minus G mm by r square. Here the potential energy is nothing but an amount of work done to bring the planet from distance r to infinity. To bring the planet from distance r to infinity, that is equal to potential energy of the planet at a distance of r. So that whose limits are taken as r to infinity. So we know from that that is minus g m into integration dr by r square. That is p is equal to minus g m into integration dr by r square is minus 1 by r, whose limits are r to infinity. So there is minus and minus is cancel each other. That is potential energy is equal to g mm into 1 by r, whose limits are r to infinity. When you apply limits, that is g mm into 1 by infinity minus 1 by r, we know 1 by infinity value is 0. So that potential energy is g minus g mm by r. But we know 1 by r is equal to u, and g m is equal to mu, that is one more constant. So that potential energy is equal to mu m minus mu m and u. But we know what is the value of u? U is equal to mu by h square plus a cos theta minus theta naught. After expanding, potential energy is equal to minus mu m square m by h square minus mu m a cos theta minus theta naught. This may be taken as next. Now the total energy E is equal to kinetic energy plus potential energy. So that total energy is equal to half m h square a square plus mu square m by 2h square plus mu m a cos theta minus theta naught. This is kinetic energy, and potential energy is minus mu square m by h square minus mu m a cos theta minus theta naught. Of course, here this is plus mu m a cos theta minus theta naught and minus mu m a cos theta minus theta naught are both of them equal and opposite direction, cancel each other. So that the total energy is equal to half m h square a square plus mu square m by 2h square minus mu square m by h square. So when it is total energy is equal to, when half m h square is taken as common, there is only a square plus mu square by h to the power 4, because h square is going outside, so that h to the power 4 minus 2 mu square by h to the power 4. When we observe here, that is mu square by h to the power 4 minus 2 mu square by h to the power 4 is equal to minus mu square by h to the power 4. So that E is equal to half mh square into a square minus mu square by h to the power 4. So that the total energy E is equal, that is m half mh square is going left side, to E by mh square is equal to a square minus mu square by h to the power 4. But we know we want to calculate the eccentricity, that is epsilon is equal to ah square by mu. So that we want to calculate the value of A. So that from this a square is equal to 2e by mh square plus mu square by h to the power 4, because this minus mu square by h to the power 4 is going to left, this may be plus. From this, A is equal to square root of, that is A is equal to square root of 2e by mh square plus mu square by h to the power. It is nothing but square root of, may be replaced by to the power half. When this is from this, mu square by h to the power 4 is taken as common. That is 1 plus, that is mu square by h square in case of that 1 plus 2eh square by m mu square. So this is the A, but we know when h square and mu is coming this side, that is ah square by mu, that is equal to eccentricity of the cone. So that eccentricity epsilon is equal to ah square by mu, that is equal to 1 plus 2e by h square by m mu square equal to the power half. So by using this equation, we can analyze whether it is parabola or hyperbola or ellipse, depending on the value of E and epsilon. So when the first case, if epsilon is less than 1, that is E is less than 0. Because if from this above equation, if E is less than 0, that is maybe taken as minus, so epsilon is less than 1. If E is equal to 0, that is 1 plus 0 is 1, so that epsilon is equal to 1. If E is greater than 0, that is 1 plus something, so that epsilon is greater than 1. So depending on this E value, we can analyze this. If E is less than 0, epsilon is less than 1, we know that the orbit is ellipse. And second option, if E is equal to 0, then epsilon is equal to 1, then orbit is parabola. And if E is greater than 0, the epsilon is greater than 1, the orbit is hyperbola. In these last two cases, that is E is equal to 0 and E is greater than 0, shows that positive charge or maybe positive force. That is nothing but there is a repulsive force. So in these last two cases, that is E is greater than 0 or E is greater than 0, the planet does not bound with the sun. The planet does not bound with the sun. So the system is unbounded in these two cases. That is epsilon is equal to 1 and epsilon is greater than 1. So these two cases are not possible. So what we have left, that is E is less than 0, that is nothing but negative. The negative force shows the attractive force. So the planet which bound with the sun. So that is the shape is ellipse. So the first case, that is E is less than 0 or epsilon is less than 1. That is the correct case. So that the planets which revolve around the sun is in ellipse. So that we conclude that planetary orbits are elliptical, that is bounded. So finally we says that, or we concluded that the planets, all planets will revolve around the sun in an elliptical orbit, and the sun is at one of its foci. Thank you.